let's get a little techie. Al, I mean, let's talk about like, what is the infrastructure and the architecture to make Champions Place actually work? Because there's a lot of times people don't understand the behind the scenes.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff there that, we can just say, Google, do this, but I don't think people understand the technology to make it work.
Well, it's the architecture approach of how we went about with Champions Place is believe it or not, there's a lot of similarities with like a high density public venue. As you can imagine, right? There's 16 residences. Each room has their own Wi-Fi radio, right? There's a Wi-Fi radio in the common area. There's a Wi-Fi radio outside. And in the world of wireless and Wi-Fi, there's only so much spectrum that's available. And the spectrum block is cut up into channels, right? And so if you have like 10 channels that don't overlap, right? It's like segmented. This channel 1, channel 2, 3, 4, 5, as it goes, right? I'll just say it. I'll make it as simplistic as possible so we don't get into the weeds. But basically what that means is because you only have so much spectrum available, eventually, if you have 10 devices, you're fine. You're not going to interfere with each other, but you add number 11 and it's going to interfere. So like in a high density public venue, you have to support a lot of users in a confined space. And you've got all these radios just broadcasting signal, right? And so there's some method to the madness with respect to how powerful you set that radio so it broadcasts that signal, right? If it's too much, you could cause interference with another AP in another room. If it's too little, maybe you can't get the right connectivity you need for the blinds to communicate to the system. So there's somewhat of an optimization process that we go through to make sure. I mean, the initial pieces of it are just having engineers on staff that understand channel planning. A lot of these networks today and Wi-Fi, they're set up so that in your typical environments, like say in my office here, or even at my home, or even in a building where I'm serving like a large area, and I don't have to split up the network to individual needs. These controlled systems have features like auto channel and auto power capabilities, right? And they'll adjust through the day, right? But once you kind of exceed that threshold of spectrum that's available, that's when you can't rely on this controller. So that's kind of the difference with SmartWAVE in our resources is the more challenging that RF or that radio frequency environment is, the greater value that we bring, because we don't rely on the manufacturer system to make the decisions for the environment that we're in. We know the technology to hard set those channels, to hard set those power settings, so that Rick, when he has a problem, so Rick's not calling me every day, basically, right? And saying, hey, Al, can you send some guys over here to help me out? Right? Because that's not, that's not a good program to run, right? And
the experience alone is not, especially given what it is. It's just a bad experience, right?
Well, look at the audience we're catering to, right? When channels change in an access point, so you've got all these things, you've got all these APs. Just think about this. If this one adjusts and this one adjusts and there's another one here, they're all adjusting. So they're going to change channels. Every time they change channels, this guy loses connectivity, or whatever Wi-Fi device you have is going to lose connectivity when it changes. We have an audience there that you don't want to have that continual enter, what's going on. These young adults have lived through enough strife. Whatever we can do to make it simple, that's our mission, right? And that's what we want to do. So with respect to what's going on over at Champions Place, It's really amazing. I mean, you know, personally for me, you know, I grew up with a sister and she was mentally handicapped, but in different, she had some physical attributes and issues as well. But for her, it was a little different because, as Rick mentioned, there's programs for people with intellectual challenges, right? There's programs for them. There are locations and communities for them and activities for them. But the physical piece, I've never really thought about it, right? And I grew up with someone who was handicapped, and I never really thought about those individuals that have just a physical disability and what it must be like if you're placed into an organization that has a totally different set of challenges than you do, right?
Yeah.
And the social impact of it. I mean, it's a social program, right? That is breaking a barrier for these kids. And so it's something it's really easy to get excited about, Rick. I tell you, man. And Rick is one heck of a cheerleader. I'm telling you.